Hey, what's up, everybody? Just going to give it a couple more minutes and let some people join in, and we'll get started here very soon. Prax, welcome in. Just right on time as always. Prax is always here, always commenting. That's the dedication it takes. Ownage Gaming TV says, what do I think about Dogecoin? I don't really have any thoughts on that. Although I did make some money on it this weekend. A lot of people in my Discord server were posting some profits, so I had to buy on this dip and then sell for a quick 30% just to say I was a part of it. But you know, if you got to be really careful chasing stuff like that up. I mean, look at the percentage return in the past year. I know it's a hype thing, and I mean, who knows? It could probably keep going, but just be careful. Be careful. There's a lot of stuff. There's a lot of negative news surrounding crypto right now. And in fact, that's going to be something that we talk about with one of the stocks on the watch list for today. So stand by for that. Fireball Games, thanks. Anthony, what's up, what's up? Excited for Monday? Yeah, I'm excited. Definitely. I'm ready to make some money. I'm super excited. I think we got some really good setups. Let's just hope that this market, continues to cooperate. It's been really nice lately. It's been really, really nice lately. All right, we're going to go ahead and get started here. Juan, what's going on? Welcome in. To everybody else, welcome to this week's watch list review session with Spartan Trades. Full disclaimer, this is not financial advice. I am not a financial advisor. If you are new, here's the rundown. We will be reviewing my top stock picks for tomorrow. Everything that I talk about is for a day trade. I am a day trader. So all of this analysis is done with the intent to take a trade on this tomorrow, provided that the plan goes according to plan, right? We're going to talk about some charts that may have potential depending on where they open up tomorrow. And then we're going to talk about some side charts that we should probably, or you should probably, or maybe even want to set alerts on for the rest of the week. Some of them I've been talking about for weeks. And they're just now getting to the point where they look tradable. At the end, I'm going to be answering any questions that you have about any other stock, except for penny stocks. I don't trade penny stocks in particular. That's not mentioned here by me in the early part of the stream. All right, so we are going to talk about this market. This is the daily chart that I'm on. This is /ES. It's the future that SPY follows. It's pushed up, pushed up, pushed up, right? No big surprise there. To me, a pullback in this market seems inevitable, and we may be at that point now. I don't want to fearmonger here, but the reality is there's likely more downside potential or some type of pullback potential from here than further upside. I mean, I personally would really even like to see this market pull back or at least consolidate some before moving higher. And that's just one scenario that I'm ready for this week. So I always say, don't trade with a bias, but you need to be ready for any scenario. Trading is a matter of setting if-then statements in place and following those if-then statements, right? So if this happens, then I plan to do this. And this is something that we need to be prepared for. So I'm going to pitch my case on this. SPY on the daily chart time frame has formed a doji candle here at the top of the run. That signals indecision and could be followed up by a reversal, all right? So if we look at /ES, it's actually, I'm going to move to the 5-minute chart time frame. It actually has gapped down very slightly, but it has gapped down and then made a new low, right? Following that gap down after open. And we all know that the market, moving back to the daily chart here, we all know that the market has been on this raging move upwards. So it just may be time for that pullback. Listen, there's plenty of time before the market opens, so anything can happen, but that's just one scenario to be prepared for, okay? The other scenario is simply this. A new high gets made right over 41.83. And obviously, if that's the case, then the market just isn't ready for any sort of weakness, and we should continue to trade with the trend. So if the market's pushing up into new highs, we just keep taking stocks long into new highs. Remember, the trend is your friend, and as day traders, we don't have to really guess what the market's going to do next. All that we need to do is identify what is the current trend, and then get into a trade on the correct side of that trend. It's not that easy, but and that's pretty much what it boils down to. Most winning trades should work out almost immediately. And if they don't, then make sure you're not the one sitting there praying to your computer screen for the position you're in to reverse. That's letting your emotions get attached. Just cut that thing and move on, right? So if you're ready to hear the watch list I have lined up for tomorrow, hit the like button for me. The only two scenarios I'm looking for on the overall market for tomorrow is either a new high to be made or some sort of pullback. If we pull back, we have some very minor support here at 41.50. We have a little bit of support here around 41.40. I think the larger, more relevant level of support is going to be right at 4,100. So alerts over the high and alerts at 4,100, and plan to play the trend. All right, in no particular order, the first one on the watch list for tomorrow is going to be Workhorse, WKHS, Workhorse. All right, so I always will start my analysis on the daily chart time frame and work my way down. It basically allows me to see what the bigger picture is. So we talked last week about trading, even just now too, trading with the trend, and how if the stock is already moving up on the daily chart time frame, if you're trading with this run up and you're long on the way up, you increase your chances of being correct intraday because the overall trend is already up. So if you're trying to catch a day trade and get into a position expecting the stock to go up, you're increasing your probability of being correct. And that's true unless you're trying to catch a reversal. And that is what we may have here. This is one of those exceptions where we may have a reversal coming in. So support is going to be right around this $12 mark. And it's been making a lower high, lower high, lower high, lower high, all the way down. So our trend over the top side is going to look like that, and that to me looks like a descending triangle. So if this were, and this is a bearish continuation pattern, so if this were to break down, that would really be the next expected move, correct? Right. But just because a pattern is bearish does not mean it has to break down, and just because a pattern is bullish does not mean that it has to break out. So support looks like it's being validated here. We have high volume coming in, pushing this stock up. Nice move, nice recovery move there on Friday. Right up to this trend line. Yes, it's still making a lower high, but there's obviously a catalyst behind this, right? There is news that caused this to push up. It was an analyst upgrade, and so from here, all that we're looking for is this move to continue to the top side. There's a lot of, if we're talking about risk to reward here, there's a lot of room for this to make up should it continue. So there's a few ways to play this. One of them being that we just plan to take it long right over the high at $14, right? So if we look at $14 as a resistance point, we go back to the daily chart. We're going to analyze from 14. What's our next resistance? Looks like 15, right? $1 move. That is significant, even though it's just $1. It is significant because percentage-wise, we're talking, almost 7% right there. And this stock certainly has the power to make a 7% move in one day. So that's one way that we could trade this. Take it long over 14 for the move up to 15. However, If we look at the 5-minute chart time frame, this is a pattern itself, isn't it? That is a massive intraday bull flag. That is an all-day bull flag that was formed. I'm going to delete this line to make it a little more clear. So bull flags are patterns. They're bullish continuation patterns. These can be traded different ways. One of the ways is taking it long over the high. One of the ways is taking it long off of the dip, the lower trend line. And the other way is to take it long over this top trend line here. So when you get that break move, or if you get that break move, that move right there can be traded for profits. So I think that depending on where this opened will depend on where we set the trigger level at for tomorrow. All right, if it opens up underneath 13.5, which was intraday resistance once, twice, 3 times, if it opens up under this price point, we could take it long over 13.5 with a price target of 14 in mind, rather than waiting for it to get all the way up here, because look at that move. 3.71% profit margin, plenty enough to take profits on. You really only need a 2% move to yield decent profits. So this is plenty enough profit margin there. So 13.5 is where I'm going to set the trigger level at for right now. In the case that this stock gaps up and opens up over 13.5, we're going to be looking for a long position over 14. All right, with a price target of, if we're looking at the chart, a price target of 15 in mind, but take profits when they're offered. Don't get greedy holding on and let this thing reverse on you. It is overall in a downtrend, so I don't know tomorrow if this is going to break that downtrend and push up, but it is a possibility. So Workhorse, first one on the watch list, looking for a breakout of the descending triangle on recent upgrade news, bouncing off the lows, the support at $12. Break of 13.50 or 14 will be confirmation. Anthony's asking, what platform am I using to look at and mark these charts? This platform is called Thinkorswim. I have a video on my YouTube channel called How to Set Up Thinkorswim, and I tell you everything about how I set it up, all the indicators I use, and all that. So go check it out when you have some time. Second one on the main chart watch list will be TGT, that's Target. I have been posting and talking about this setup for a while now. We finally got the move that we were looking for on Friday with the breakout here. So if you haven't been keeping up with the stocks that we've been talking about and watching, Target is trading at the all-time highs, and it's been range trading here between $202 and resistance at 206. So Friday we were able to catch this breakout move over 206 into the highs, and the new high is going to be 209.5. There are 2 ways to trade this one as well. It's very simple. This is so the analysis for this is all that we're looking for is a continuation play into the highs, right? So that would mean a long idea over 209.5. However, it kind of gets difficult because 210 is kind of a big number, right? I mean, that's kind of a kind of like the next round logical number of resistance over 209.5. So the last thing that I want to do is take it long over the high and then see it get rejected right there and only wind up, with a 0.2% profit margin. So there are 2 ways to trade this. Way number 1 is going to be to look for a break of 209.5, take the entry, and look for it to break 210 and continue up, right? Hopefully that momentum stays in the stock and it just continues upwards. The other way to trade it is to wait for it to break 210 so you have extra confirmation that it is moving up, and then take the trade above that. So it depends on who you are as a trader and how you like to trade. If you're somebody that doesn't mind a little bit of risk for a little bit more reward, you can take it long over 209.5. If you are somebody that likes to wait for that extra confirmation, it may be better for you to wait for it to break over 210. There may be a case where this doesn't even break out at all, right? And so if that's the deal, then to the bottom side, we know that old resistance at 206, see that, should become new support. Otherwise, it fails to hold and falls back into this range, right? So for that reason, I'm looking at probably a short position below 206, although I don't think it gets all the way there unless, the market just completely comes down tomorrow. That's all that I have for target. Very, very kind of simple analysis and breakdown. I mean, really what I'm looking for is a break into the highs. I wouldn't be looking for I'm not looking for a short position on something that's pressing all-time highs, right? So I'm not trying to catch the reversal there. Just as if I wouldn't be trying to look for a long position on a stock that's making all-time lows. Don't try to catch a falling knife. So 209.5 and 210 will be the two areas to watch for target. We'll see if we can get some continuation from here. It seems to do this thing though where, let me show you this. Back to the daily. It seems to do this thing where it like breaks out a little bit and then consolidates. Breaks out one day, consolidates. Breaks out, you actually had 2 days there, consolidates. Breaks out, consolidates. Breaks out, right? So it's like really taking the stairs on the way up. But we want to be prepared. So hopefully this doesn't form another range and does decide to continue upwards. But we'll see what happens, okay? The next one on the main chart watch list is Tesla, TSLA. So we got the break of this bull flag right here for this run up. Tesla was actually our biggest winner from last week. So if you're a part of the Discord server, we caught some big moves on Tesla last week, and you couldn't really ask for anything better. Big swings up, big swings back down, and so right now it's doing pretty much what you would want it to do after it breaks out, right? So after it breaks out, it's pulled back just a little bit. So it started to form a range here. I'm going to move to the 5-minute chart time frame. Started to form a range here with support, around, I'm just going to say 725. Resistance being around 750. It's not quite a range because, in my opinion, you need at least 3 days for a range to be validated. So it moved up. It was moving up on the kind of on the Bitcoin thing, right? On Bitcoin pushing up, and then now it's Bitcoin's coming down. There's like a lot of kind of negative news surrounding crypto. So this is a toss-up. I don't know where this goes from here for tomorrow. I mean, from a technical standpoint, I say that it looks like it's going to break out. And so my ideal would be a long position over 750 with a price target of probably 770 or 780 in mind. However, I don't know how this is going to be affected by all the things that are happening with crypto right now. And if it is negatively impacted, then we're going to be looking for a short position below these lows, around 725. I'm going to flip back to the daily chart time frame so you see this a little more clearly. Maybe I might even move that short trigger down to 720. There is a slight gap here, right above. Well, okay, so that's actually really insignificant. From about 705 up to like 711. I mean, the gap is there, but it's kind of insignificant compared to the price point that this stock is trading at. I think if it breaks 720 and fails to hold it as a support, we're looking at a retest of probably 700 and this 50 EMA to the downside, right? So that's scenario one. If it breaks 720 or 725, the trigger level's yet to be determined. I think this comes down to 700. On the opposite side of that, if it breaks out over 750, there's room for it to run to 770 and 780, right? So a couple of different ways to trade this. Otherwise, if it doesn't break anything, it just stays within this range, then we don't take a trade on it. By the way, if you're just tuning in, first of all, where have you been? Second of all, we've already talked about Workhorse, Target, and now Tesla for the main chart watch list for tomorrow. Yeah, I mean, it's going to depend on where it opens up at. So I wish that I could give you more solid trigger levels than, here's a couple of levels. Here's a range. We're looking for the break of the range. it is what it is, right? These levels that I'm giving you right now, they're guidance points. They may change, and they likely do change by the time that the market opens because of overnight moves. So if you're part of the Discord server, you don't have to worry about getting the updated trigger levels. That comes out on the watch list every morning. But if you're not part of the Discord server, you need to know that you have to adjust these trigger levels according to the pre-market movement and moves. Don't just take these levels that I'm giving you now and say, oh yeah, they're still applicable by tomorrow morning. Well, sometimes they are, but sometimes they're not. So use a little bit of logic, right? Adjust your trigger levels as you see fit. The next one for the main chart watch list, CSCO. I should have put this on the watch list on Friday. I did not. This is a bull pennant pattern, and there's your breakout. It actually had news where it had pushed up above that trend line, that downward trend line that I drew, and I saw this happen, and I saw this happen pre-market, and I just didn't say anything about it. It's all right. I mean, I wound up not even taking this trade anyway. So sometimes it's okay to let stuff break out first because you get confirmation, and then you can just follow it up with a continuation move. And so that's what we're looking at or looking for from here. I'm not too worried about the 53.18. I'm not too worried about that 18 cents. What I do see is this flat top resistance at 53. It's having trouble here breaking 53. 1, 2, 3 times. It's rejected. We're going to think of that wick as outlier data. The body of the candle is down here. That's where it closed, 52.8. So this is a long idea for me over 53 tomorrow. I don't mind taking that little bit of extra risk. I think that if it breaks 53, I don't think it'll have any problem breaking that 18 cents. But there's always that chance that it does get rejected there at those highs. And by the way, this is not the all-time highs. I know it looks like it here on the daily chart. If I back this up to the weekly, you're going to see the high around 56.28, and then if I back this up from 3 years to max available, we're nowhere near the all-time highs for this stock. So a lot of room for it to go still, and that does make a difference when you're trading something on the daily chart that looks like it's pressing all-time highs. It does make a difference if it's breaking into new highs or if it's not. So very easy analysis here for CSCO, long idea over 53. And then to the flip side, there is that gap right there, right? So kind of like Tesla, the gap is somewhat insignificant. I mean, there's not a lot of profit margin in that gap area, but it is there. So theoretically, it should hold the lows as a support. That's going to be around 15.20. If it were to continue up, it should hold 52.20 as a support. Otherwise, I mean, if it fails to hold that, I mean, the next level of support is going to be around 52, and then down here around 51.5 or so. But yep, just looking for a continuation play on this breakout move that it has already made. Okay, so Workhorse, TGT, Tesla, CSCO, those are the 4 stocks that will be making the main chart watch list at this time. I'm going to talk about some side charts, and while I am doing that, please feel free to type up anything in the chat section right here that you want me to review. I just ask that you don't include penny stocks and that you please give me a sentence or two why you think the stock has potential, and then maybe a couple of levels of significance. So trigger levels, short below levels, etc. These side chart stocks that I'm about to give you, they all have potential to make the main chart watch list, so don't leave the stream just yet. And these are also stocks that you're going to want to keep your alerts set on for the rest of the week. APHA, first one on the side chart watch list. It's a side chart because it's not trading close to this gap area yet, but it may have potential to get there by the end of this week. So we have a gap over $15 up to 16. That's a nice profit margin there, percentage-wise, 6.5% or so. But it's a side chart because it's trading down here closer to like 14.2. So there's still a little bit of room for it to go from here to here before it gets into the gap area for a gap fill. So if you don't know, gaps are these areas on the daily chart time frame where there's a disconnect in price from there to there, right? And that happened because of earnings. So there's a disconnect in price from here to here. I shade my gaps with a gray box so they're easily identifiable or easily identified. And I can just flip through my charts and see where the gaps are at fairly quickly. So yes, there is a gap area over 15 up to 16, but it needs to recover a little bit before we look at taking this trade. So if it opens up near 15, we may have a trade into the gap. But I'm not really expecting that tomorrow. However, sometime later on this week, it may get there. So keep your alerts set at 15. Plus, there is the Tilray TLR. Oh, 420s this week too. And the Tilray merger, right? Okay, Amazon. Next one on the side chart watch list. There is still potential for this to continue to go. Look, I am very cautious and weary of these FANG stocks pushing up like this. Okay, look, and what I mean by FANG, look, Facebook, big run up, right? Apple, kind of a big run up. Amazon, big run up, right? Microsoft, kind of a big run up. So if we're looking at these stocks, you would be saying, well, I mean, it feels a bit overdone. Yes, it does. But what I like about Amazon is that it's consolidating here underneath a hold number. That's going to be 3,400. And there's also kind of this major level of resistance around 3,440 just overhead. And that's going to be the top side of this pennant pattern that it's started to form and shape up here. So I'm not super interested in taking it long over 3,400. But I do want to know if it can break 3,440 or 3,450, because I think the next, the next resistance above that is 3,500, right? And so then we have a $50 move that we could capitalize on there. Something to keep an eye on. So my alerts for Amazon are set at 3,440, and we'll talk about taking a trade on this then if it gets there, all right? Walmart, WMT. I talk about including different sectors on the watch list. I know Walmart is retail, Target is retail, but they're both presenting very different setups at this time. So this is going to be a true side chart watch for us tomorrow, meaning I'm going to have my main chart stock list, or my main chart watch list, and then I'm going to have my side charts down at the bottom. Walmart and Target will both be on there because they're presenting different setups. Target's the all-time high break out of a range. Walmart is a gap play. We just talked about a gap play with APHA. Very same concept here. So this has reclaimed, broke out of like this kind of ascending triangle pattern, right? Pulled back, retested, big move up to the gap area, rejected, pulled back. Now it's retesting that level again. I like the fact that it's now over the 50 and the 200 EMA here on the daily. And it's very close to 141. So this, for me, will be a long idea over 141 tomorrow, if it can get there. The only thing about Walmart is, if you're not catching it on this day, it chops around, okay? So if you're not catching it on that day, it chops around. You have to time this perfectly, and hopefully we are timing it properly. Over 141 is the move, though, for sure. So a long idea over 141, price target of 144 in mind for the gap fill. That's all that I'm looking for on Walmart. Okay, set your alerts there. Next one is BYND. I have already drawn this downtrend for you. So big run up, big pull back. I cannot believe that it retraced this entire move. In fact, I was looking at this because BYND has a gap area below that it hasn't filled. And I was watching this in this area and I was like, you know what? This looks like it may have bounce potential. Like that might be like a low risk play there. And sure enough, it started to run. I had no idea that this was going to happen, right? But great move there. Retraced the whole thing, though, which was pretty wild. And then now has found support back in this 120, 130 area and started to push back up. So it's testing the 50 EMA and the 200 EMA, not the first time, but the second time. Breaking this downward trend line and beginning to consolidate. So one of the first things that you see when you have a trend change is consolidation. So break of the downtrend, consolidation below two major EMAs on the daily. We're just looking for a break over 140, maybe even 141 also, just like Walmart, same level, 141. for extra confirmation, and go. In fact, I'm going to set my alert over that high. No guarantee that that's going to happen, but if it does, look at the profit margin. The next major level from here is going to be right around 150. So you're looking at a $10 profit margin from 140 to 150 if we get that move. Something to keep an eye on. All right, I got 3 more for you, and then I'm going to get into your charts. Uber. This is one that we have put on the watch list a couple of times, trying to find the breakout over 61. It's not getting there, or it hasn't really gotten there yet. It gapped up recently, so there's your gap area. Not a very significant gap, but it's there. Gapped up, has been kind of making these higher lows, pressing 61 as a resistance. So this is what your pattern looks like, right? So that kind of looks like a big ascending triangle without regard, like disregarding that and counting that as outlier data. 61 is the resistance. Resistance, 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 all the way through. Okay, a break of 61 sends this, in my opinion, up to 63, 64 area, which looks great for a day trade. But one step at a time, it needs to reclaim 61 first. So keep your alerts set there. If this opens up near 61, it definitely looks good for a trade. This is one that really may make the day trade watch list. I mean, it's close enough to that 61 mark that, I mean, it could easily be right up against that price point tomorrow, and we can catch that pop move over. CRWD. This is one that I don't talk about often. CrowdStrike. Not one that I talk about often, but I do like what it's doing here. So pulled back, broke the downward trend line right here. A lot of kind of chop and consolidation. So we weren't, I wasn't really super interested in trading this. Then it got this big move, or a bit larger move, not big move, but a larger move up, and then started to form the pennant here. You see the formation, right? So 220 is where I have my alerts. Well, actually I have my alerts set at 217, but 220 is the mark that I'm looking for this to break over. So a break of 220 would be that true confirmation that it's breaking out of this pattern and moving to the top side. From there, I think it has room up to 230. So again, another $10 profit margin from 220 to 230, which is tradable. Alerts set at 220. My first alert that you see set here, that's just like a reminder alert. That's letting me know that, hey, you need to pay attention to CRWD because it's getting there. And those of you that trade on Thinkorswim, you know how these alerts, oh my gosh, they come in like 15 minutes late sometimes. And I'm like, yeah, thanks for the alert. Now I missed the whole play, or I missed the breakout move, the initial move that I was trying to get, that I was trying to trade. So thanks for the delayed alert. So set 2. The last one is Alibaba BABA. This one gapped up big on paying the fine news, and I mean, it hasn't done anything since. A lot of kind of pullback and consolidation. So what do we know to be true about gap areas? Well, the top side of the gap and the bottom side of the gap can act as support and resistance. So respectfully, we want to see 236 validate as a support. If it does not validate as a support, well, then we have this big gap. I mean, pretty big gap from 236 down to like 225. We got a big gap area for this to fill to the bottom side if it fails to hold 236 as a support. So that's something that I have an alert set at. To the top side, I have alerts set at 245. Maybe it gets there this week, maybe it doesn't, but that's right underneath the 200 EMA. So I have an alert set right there, but my primary watch for Alibaba is a breakdown underneath 236 for a short position gap fill play, probably a profit target of 230 in mind, and then 226 if it continues to fall. Got it? So APHA, Amazon, Walmart, BYND, CSCO, Uber, CRWD, BABA, all side chart watches for this week. And they could be main chart watches. Who knows? It depends on where they open up at. All right, I'm going to get into the charts that you all have been requesting. First off, I know not everybody stays for this portion, but I want to thank you for your time so far. If these streams are something that you enjoy and something that helps you out, press the like button for me, because that's something that helps me out on this end. So I would appreciate that. Thank you very much in advance. Let's talk about what you have been requesting. Moving up to the top here, Chanel says, hi, hello. Plug, looking to break the downtrend on the daily. Let's see. So yeah, Plug was actually one that started to move up, but I don't think that it's anywhere near breaking this downtrend. And I think it probably needs one more green day, and here's why. So if I were to draw the downtrend, I mean, I definitely see what you're talking about, right? And I could extend that like all the way out, right? So we have like a really strong downtrend. I think it still has a little bit more room to go, and $30 is just overhead. So for a stock that's priced this cheap, now we talk about whole numbers being areas of natural support and resistance within the market. Well, a stock priced this cheap, every $5 or $10 is a whole number, right? So $30 to me is a likely level of resistance. In addition, it's trading below the 200 EMA now, which is also a level of resistance. So for me to consider this breaking the downtrend, it needs to break over probably $31. And in fact, I am going to set an alert there just in case. But as of right now, we have no confirmation that that is the move that it's looking to make. And I think if it decides to make that move, it needs to probably, in my opinion, it needs to break 31 to even have my attention. So that's what I would be looking for on PLUG. Zane asked me if I'm going to talk about Amazon. I did. That's one that was on our side chart watch list. So that is this session, this stream is up for 24 hours after I stream. So after I close down the stream, just go back and rewatch any parts that you missed. By the way, if you've just showed up, we've already talked about the main chart watch list. Quick review on that. It's going to be Workhorse, TGT, Tesla, CSCO as of right now. And then I've already talked about the side charts. The side charts have potential to replace the main charts depending on where they open up at. But if you missed any of that, just rewatch the stream after it ends. We'll be done here in 20 minutes or so. Now that you were talking about Tesla, do I think the news about Elon Musk and NASA contract will help to push? That's tough to say, because that really doesn't have anything to do with Tesla, does it? But in some way, it kind of does. It's strange. It's really strange, because I don't say that I'm a fortune teller. So I honestly have no idea how that news, or if that news will affect Tesla stock. Logic says that it's not going to, but I've seen all kinds of crazy things happen. So at this point, I wouldn't be surprised to see Tesla stock move up on that news. I know that's like such a roundabout answer. I'm sorry. I can't give you a straight answer on that. I literally have no idea. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised to see it happen, but it really shouldn't affect it. So we'll have to see. That's something that I'm curious to see as well. Yeah. So Fubo, please. Yeah. Just give me a couple of give me a little bit of analysis on that, and I will gladly break down Fubo. But I want to hear what you think first before I just give you answers. I don't care if you're wrong or if you think you're wrong. Just try. That's all I care about, is that you try. Apps worth looking at for a AAPS. Apps worth looking at for a swing trade. Giant pennant, big moves all the time. Spread is horrendous though, so you look for it more of a swing play. Let's see. AAPS. Can't find the symbol. I'm assuming you mean APPS. This, I would be careful on this, because you said it's a giant pennant, so I kind of see what you're talking about. But I mean, that looks very like break down to me, right? Like that looks like it pushed up to this resistance point here and then just totally got rejected and came down. So it is below the 50 EMA. I see what you're talking about. Like if you wanted to connect this as a trend line, like, yeah, you could say that that looks like a pennant, and then you would draw something like that. So it is overall up because it's trading over the 200 EMA, but I would be cautious about this kind of sell-off move. Although it seems like every time something like this happens, it has been saved. So just make sure that you have confirmation first. You would want to see some sort of consolidation, or maybe a reclaim of this 50 EMA, or maybe a new high, like a break over 80 or something, before deciding to take a position. Unless you really just don't care about the risk and you want to buy something on the way down like that. But that's called catching a falling knife, which is typically not a good strategy to utilize. Locke said, AMD cup and handle on the daily, move above 84 is good. All right, so this must be what you're talking about for the cup and handle. So here's your cup, right? And then there's your handle, and then bam, there's your breakout move. So I like a few things about AMD. I like the fact that it is still validating 84 as a resistance, right? 1, 2, 3 times it hit that price point. I like the fact that it is still trading over the 200 EMA. I like the fact that it bounced and had a big double bottom move here off of this gap area, which it's done so many times before at 74. There's a lot of positive things technically going for AMD right now. In fact, I have an alert already set at $84, and I think that you maybe should too. So oh yeah, and you said that too. A move above 84 is good. Yeah, absolutely, right? Great. And I'm actually, this is why we do this, because I can't catch everything, and you guys have made me money before on some of the trades that you've called out, and so going over and reviewing stocks like this is a great way to see your perspective on things and then hear my perspective on things. That's also the reason why I ask you to give me some analysis. And whenever something like this happens where your level matches up with mine, that means that we're seeing the same thing, which means that it's likely that other traders are seeing the same thing. And that is kind of the reason why patterns and technical analysis works. I can get really psychological here, but yes, a break above 84 on AMD looks great. And in fact, I'm going to add that. That's something I should have talked about. I am going to add that on my side chart watch list. So AMD over 84 looks great for this week. Yep. We'll see if it can hold though. It's kind of been disappointing with this big wide range that it's been trading in. I would love to see some movement directionally back into this stock, but yeah, great call out. Okay, so you said thank you for doing it. I'm assuming the analysis. Well, you're welcome. Thanks for attending. The way I mentioned about Target, you think Home Depot HD has some resistance. RSI is at 80, and any pullback tomorrow will be great at a 326 short. So HD, yeah. Wow. I would be careful trying to short something like this that is so strong, right? We just talked about with apps. I said APPS. We just talked about with apps, like something coming down this strong, like you don't necessarily want to be buying into this weakness because you're trying to catch a falling knife, correct? So the same is true, but reversed for Home Depot. You don't necessarily want to be trying to short something that is this strong and try to call the top, because it is literally that strong, right? So you said a short at 326. maybe. I see the potential there. I mean, if you're looking at this as a resistance point and you're saying, okay, 323 was resistance, it broke out. This is the only intraday support point, and this was pretty much a straight move up, meaning that that is almost as good as a gap right there. There's like little to no price action in this entire range, so you're looking to take a short position below 326 with a profit target of probably 323 in mind. That could work. But again, just be careful trying to short something that is so super strong all the way up. Trade with the trend. Don't try to trade against it. In fact, there is a minor gap actually below 324. Yeah, it's like super insignificant, but it is there. Okay, plug. So Sean's mentioning plug. Yeah, we talked about this one already. I would keep alerts set at 31 for plug. If you missed that, just join into the live stream after this session ends and you'll be able to rewatch it later on. Okay, so Tragedy says that CLOV, Clove, was on a huge downtrend and has been consolidating recently. $7 support, $9 resistance. Huge amount of volume came in Friday, thinking it's a good long over $10. Thoughts, also a catalyst. I don't know what the catalyst is, but I know that CLOV was one of those pumped stocks on FinTwit and probably lost a lot of people a lot of money. So I really don't have many thoughts on this, but the one level that you did mention was thinking about a good long position over $10. If that says anything, look, we just got to the chart and I didn't just put that line there. That's been there, $10, right? So support all throughout here, big bounce, and then now most recently a resistance. We talked about how a stock trading at this price point, at such a cheap price point, how every $5 or $10 is a level of resistance, or it is like a natural whole number level of resistance. So yes, I would say that a long position over $10, there's probably a trade there. I would just be super careful because above that, you don't have much profit margin to the 200 EMA. And plus, this is one of those stocks that, clearly it's a pump and dump, right? From 10 to 13, and then from 10 to 17, and all the way back down to 6. You don't want to overextend your stay on something like this. But nonetheless, $10 is a level. So as a day trader, I guess some people just really don't care if the stock is a pump and dump. They're just trying to get their slice of the pie and get out. If that's you, then a move over 10 is fine. I love when that happens. I love when you guys mention a level and then we flip to the chart and my lines are right there at that level. Obviously we're seeing the same thing. So like, maybe we're both wrong, or maybe we're both just seeing something that has potential, or a level that has potential. And that's what I see in this case. Although I just want to caution, just be careful on this one. Whoa, I gapped all the way down there. When it comes to the FANG stock, it's going to come down to Netflix earnings. Yeah. So something that has earnings like the week of, I don't even do any like technical analysis on it because it doesn't really matter. When earnings happens, the stock typically moves in one direction or the other in a larger move, and that throws out the window anything that the stock was doing previously from a technical standpoint. So like if something was forming a bull flag but has earnings tomorrow, I wouldn't say that there's a good chance that it breaks out of the bull flag and runs. If anything, I would think that there's more of a chance that it consolidates all day and then makes the move after hours. So can we talk about Apple? Holdings from some 135 calls due to expire on the 23rd. I actually liked Apple for some time. The only thing that I don't like about Apple is that the overall market feels overextended. And so Apple's one of those stocks that kind of likes to trade with the overall market. So it's my opinion that if if we get a pullback on SPY tomorrow, we're going to see a pullback on a lot of stocks. But if we see a new high being made or we see some consolidation, there may be a chance that some of these stocks continue to run. Apple, I liked it because it has a very clear line of resistance at 135. So that was something that I've put out in my Discord server a few times, and we tried to catch the play over 135, and it just never really got there. So it is holding up near this level, actually, and I need to reset my alert there. Over 135, the next big area of resistance that I see is around 137.5. You see it here, you see it here, and you see it back here. So that is tradable over 135 up to about 137.5, but it needs to break 135 first. If it can't break this most recent level of resistance, then it's not even going to get to this next level of resistance. So set your alerts at 135, and we will keep an eye on it. But you should also keep an eye on the overall market. If the overall market's pulling back, you don't necessarily want to be taking something long, especially like a FANG stock long, when or if you get a major pullback. Not always the case, but just typically, right? You want to try to have, I tell my team, try to have as much market backing as possible, because that can be the difference between a stock that is breaking out versus a stock that's faking out. So if you were trading Apple and you're like, yeah, it looks good, it's pushing up and over 135, and it runs to like 135.2, but you notice that SPY has opened up and went straight red, I would really be hesitant about taking it long. Even though it's breaking resistance and looking good, it doesn't have that market backing. And so that's typically when you see a stock push up and over and then come right back down and traps the bulls up top. Rosa said PFE is a continuation play, has news behind it. Sure. Yeah, so Pfizer. It's one of the stocks that, it really kind of only moves on news, doesn't it? So if you're looking for a continuation play from here, yeah, all you would be looking for is a break over the high at 38.7. I don't keep up with this, so I don't know what that catalyst is. I will allow you to all do your own due diligence and research on it. I see that it's breaking over 37, which was a fairly significant level of resistance in the past. Once it broke over that price point, consolidated here a couple of days, validated it as support, and then that's when you got the gap up and go on higher volume. So sure, we are. If you're looking for this to be a trade as a continuation play, you're not far off. Like, you're not too late on this. So yeah, move over whatever this high is, 38.7. Looks fine to me. Thanks, Rosa, for bringing that up. Tragedy says Microsoft is an all-time high break. Okay, so just like with SPY, yes, that is an all-time high, but the risk to reward here is not there for me. Like, Microsoft looked great when it broke out of this right here, and then it looked great when it ranged here and gapped up, and it looked great, all the way up. But then, it's just slowly started. Let's look at the intraday price action. Do you want to, kind of be trading something like this? I don't. So I want to stay away from this back and forth, chopping around. Yes, it's moving up, but, trying to hold through this for a little bit of gains to me is not worth it. I know it's at the highs. Yes, it could probably continue to keep going, but the risk to reward is not there for me. So I don't mind waiting on this to pull back some before deciding to take a trade. All right, we're going to do, we'll do two more. We're going to do Disney, we're going to do Airbnb, and then NEO, okay? Disney, Airbnb, and NEO. And if I didn't get to your request today, I apologize. I don't have time for everything. We're nearing that 1 hour mark. But look, you can always send me a direct message on Discord, on Instagram, Even send me a chart request on Twitter, whatever it is. Let me know, and I will happily send you my thoughts on it. All right, so Airbnb, ABNB. Here's what I see for this stock. Big kind of pennant pattern forming. It is pulling back down to the bottom side of this trend line. So it started to range, which is what we want to see, and it needs to begin to move up from here. Airbnb, you said it's looking, so Amar mentioned this one and said it's consolidating on the daily. Yes, you're correct. Looking for a breakout. Okay, 183 is a major level for Airbnb. That rhymes. We're not Dr. Seuss though. 183. Where are you drawing that level from? It's very hard to see. I would assume the reason why you mentioned 183 is because of the, well, let me see, I'm actually a little off. It's close enough. It's because of the 50 EMA. Okay, so, and then maybe this too, right? So nothing in trading is really ever exact. Well, I shouldn't say nothing, but we know in trading, stocks don't have to always exactly hit levels perfectly for them to be considered a resistance. So let's just call this a zone. Let's just say that area is significant. So here's your resistance, bounce, break over, support, bounce, support, bounce. This came all the way down. That's not really relevant there. And then so again, it's back below this price point. I would be looking probably at the 50 EMA, which is that green dotted line. So you said 183 is significant, and it seems to be within a range as well. So with reopening news and vaccines, there is a possible break to the top side. Yeah, and there's just not a lot of data here on Airbnb. What I do like, let me delete these sideways lines, these diagonal lines, because they can be subjective. And let's just try to break it down as simply as possible. From the very first run up, let's try to incorporate as much price action as possible. So from the very first run up, the first resistance we see is here. Besides opening day, right? The very first resistance is here, pullback, break over. Then we have support bounce, and then support bounce. But this whole time that it's been doing that, it's been making these lower highs. So it would look something like this. You see how we could just change the total, our total perspective of Airbnb by just looking at it with some different lines. So yeah, I would agree. It is holding the 200 EMA as a support. It is holding 170 as a support, starting to range here. I don't think you necessarily need to wait for it to get to 183 to take a trade on it though, but that is extra confirmation. So I'm going to set an alert over 183 as well. And if it breaks that price point, surely it's breaking this downward trend line. Ideally, you want to see it make a new high. So you want to see it get over like 193. But if you wait for it to get all the way up there, you're missing out on quite a bit of profit margin. So good. Yep. That would be my, I agree with you. I don't have any changes to your analysis there. The next one I said that we would do is Disney, DIS. So this was mentioned by Rosa, saying that Disney has been consolidating on the 50 EMA. A break of 190 can give us some volume. So when a stock is trading at an EMA, it's very hard, and well, it's difficult to tell like what it's going to do from here. It is ranging here with support being around 185, resistance being around 190. Yes, that's true, but ranges can break down or they can break out. So you would want to wait and see. You'd want to wait to see which direction this goes so that you have confirmation and then kind of trade in that direction. The only thing that I have an issue with is that a break over 190, I mean, it's made that move before. You could get faked out, with some resistance at 191.5. So a move over 191.5 or even 192 would give you that like extra confirmation that you're getting the move that you're looking for. But I talk about disregarding outlier data. We don't have a daily candle in this entire range that has closed over 190. Even this candle, right? Close below 190, close below 190, close below 190. Right? So all of these levels have closed below that price point. So yeah, Rosa, I would agree that maybe a break over 190 would definitely be something to take a look at. Break of 192 will absolutely give you that confirmation that it is confirming the 50 EMA as a support and moving topside. And then, you know, maybe a break below 184 or 185, probably 184 in fact. We're drawing that trend line from back here. So we're encompassing this, and this area, and then most recently this area. Break of 184 should give you confirmation that it's moving down instead of up. Anthony's asking, do I also swing trade or only day trades? I do swing trade, but I don't swing trade options. So I just buy the shares and you know, sell them at some point. My most recent purchase was actually on Tesla. So we bought. I was telling the team when this was coming down, I'm like, I'm buying this if it comes down to 550 or below 600. And so, you know, we bought it here, push up, held through this entire time. And you know, now we're nice and profitable up here, but yeah, that was my most recent purchase. I was looking at some stocks like Unity for a swing trade, Snow for a swing trade. I'm still watching those. They're just not quite where I want them to be yet. So like they're at the lows, sure, but they're not giving me confirmation that they're moving up yet. And so I want to wait until I get that confirmation before I buy into them. I've mentioned those a few times in these live streams, but yeah, to answer your question, I primarily day trade. I really don't swing trade a whole lot. And if I do swing trade, I like to buy the stocks that have like they're almost too big to fail, because I wouldn't mind investing in stocks that I swing trade, if that makes sense. Meaning like whatever money I put in, I'm okay to hold it until it, you know, hits whatever profit target. Last one that we wanted to do was NEO. So what'd you guys say on this one? Bounce from its support at 34 on Friday. NEO's a tough one. Here's what I see. This looks almost like a descending triangle. Well, I mean, it does look like a descending triangle, which means, you know, it doesn't have to break down. It could break out, but I just don't have, we don't have direction here. So yes, it's bouncing off of support, but it's not making a high that looks like we want to take a trade on it. So I don't see anything here. In fact, that's why my alert's set at 38, because I want to know if it gets back over that price point. I have another alert set at 42 and another one set at 46. But I think it needs to get closer to 40 for it to have my interest. So either 39 or 40 area would be interesting for me on NEO. Andres is asking, can I go over again how to always ensure that you have market backing for your trades? Well, you just watch SPY, right? So you would have your flex grid pulled up while you're trading, right? So it would look something like that. And you would just watch SPY. So I'd have like Apple over here and SPY over here. And if SPY is coming down and Apple's moving up, well, then I don't have market backing, do I? I'm actually going against what the overall trend is, which is not always a bad thing, because you have stocks that, like, let's say SPY's red and then like the whole market is red. But then you have a stock like something obscure like Walmart going green. Well, then that means that Walmart's showing relative strength against the overall market and doesn't really care what this is doing. It's going to do its own thing. And that typically happens because of some sort of catalyst. That's the type of trade that you want to be in. That is totally possible for Apple, but I'm saying for the most part, and especially if you're having to ask this question, for the most part, you want to be trading with the trend of the market. So if SPY's red, you want to be, you know, just general rule of thumb, you usually want to be shorting something. Or if SPY's green, you kind of want to be taking something long, right? Stocks tend to follow suit with what this is doing. All right, guys and girls, thank you all for your time. If you tuned in late, you may rewatch this entire stream. It will be up for the next 24 hours. Press the like button for me if you haven't done so already. Let's make some money. I hope that this stream's helped you out. I will have the updated trigger levels for the watch list posted in the morning, and I will see you all then. We live trade on Tuesday. We will not be live trading tomorrow, but we will be live trading on Tuesday, so prepare for that. To everybody else, come try us out in the Discord server. I offer a trial period, all right, 5 days. Take care. I will see you all tomorrow.